Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I'm going to be talking with Larry Higgins. This is such a cool video because it was streamed live on his YouTube channel, and then now it's on my channel. And we're just talking about comics. He was asking me questions, I was asking him questions. So this is a super awesome video. Check it out. Here we go. You're listening to Draw and Talk, a show about indie comics and making comics, with your host Tyler Carpenter.
And I got to tell you something. I'm here with someone really, really cool. I've talked to this man on more than one occasion. The first time was probably a few years back now. But I am here with Tyler Carpenter. This is really supposed to be him interviewing me, but I think it might be a little bit of both happening here. But Tyler, man, what's going on, brother? Get you a little bit more centered there.
Boom, I'm here. Yeah, let me center myself more. I'm here. I am live with Larry. Yeah, I think we talked. You were like one of my first people I ever talked with on.
And that was back then it was called Talk Comics. That was the channel I was telling you about off air, where we were like close to 500, and I was doing all these creator interviews. I really missed that, but I've been watching you, man. I've been watching you a lot lately, and I didn't realize the amount of content that you actually have on your channel, and I didn't realize just how cool the content on your channel actually is. Because you know what, bro? If I was a young creator looking to learn about the business and looking to how to write a story, how to find an artist, how it all works, I would definitely be checking out your channel for that info, man. But so
that was the plan. That was honestly the plan. I was like, man, there's no channel that's really like, let me teach young people who want to start comics how to make comics. I just felt like there wasn't. So I was like, let me attempt to do this. And that's still the goal for the channel.
So how's that all been going? I mean, I know you got questions for me, but let's just talk about your channel just for a little bit, man. How's that been going? I've been watching, sometimes you do it from your car, sometimes you're doing it from home. But you've had some guests on the last couple of days. You guys are talking about politics and comics, which is a hot button topic right now. I mean, kind of give me the brief rundown on it all lately.
Yeah, so the channel first started as me trying to just be like, hey, I'm the comic making guru. I know how to do everything. And by 10 videos in, I realized, I really don't know everything, and I need to start. I need to start learning from other people. And so I started reaching out to other indie creators and getting on them on the show. And we talk about one specific topic, and we still do. And then it's there for me to learn, and it's also there for other people to learn. And then I reached out to Brian Hill. He's writing Batman and the Outsiders right now. And that really helped my channel, as having a pro comic book writer come on. And then subsequently I had Heather Antos, John Malin. And I've reached out to other pros. They don't really get back to me. But the channel's there to help people make comics. So if you're wanting to make comics, please check out my channel. That's what it's all about. And the nice thing is, I might not get I have a nice little niche of I'll get a set 20 or 30 people who will watch each episode. The nice thing is that I'll have random people though who will watch a random episode, not one of the newer ones, and then they'll find me on Instagram or Twitter, and then they'll engage me hey, I have a question, and what should I do about this? And I find that I'm slowly building a community of people who are wanting to make comics and wanting to start making comics. And that's really what the goal of the show is, to show that everyone can make comics. Let me show you how. I'm someone who's who wanted to just write comic books. And because I couldn't afford an artist, I decided to learn how to start drawing. I started teaching myself how to draw, and now I draw people's comic books. I also write my own comic books. So it just goes to show that anyone can make comics.
What's the projects that you're working on right now? What have you done, and comic book wise, and what is coming up?
Okay, well, October 1st, I'm starting my Kickstarter for Demons Volume 1. It's 122 pages. It's going to be that's actually, that was the first issue 1. I came on your show to show off issue 1.
You did
3 years ago. So now I have 15 issues of that comic. We're going to do them all in 3 volumes, starting with volume 1 on October 1st. So that comes out. I'm also working. I just finished an 8-page, drawing an 8-page story with Todd Black for the Kayfabe anthology. It's like a wrestling anthology.
Nice.
There's a faith anthology that I'm part of. I'm drawing it with writer Ari Alexander. And then I'm also drawing a 3-issue series. Each issue is 40 pages called Undead Row with Wes Noddell. And it was originally supposed to be an indie TV movie. And he pitched the script to some people and it won an award, and then he decided to make it into a comic book. So
hey man, it's keeping you busy, right?
I am super busy. That's why after like this video that we're making right now, this talk that we're having, I'm only going to be doing like probably 1 video a week, and maybe 2. Like lately I've been doing like 3 or 4 videos a week, and it's been burning me out. So probably going to be doing 1 or 2 videos a week starting soon.
Well, I'll tell you, as a creator of comics and a person that likes to do YouTube, doing the live YouTube stuff is addicting to me. And I get what you're saying, that sometimes you need to prioritize your time to fit everything in. We have a couple of people in the chat. We have Miss Hustle, who's in the chat, and we have the Wonk, otherwise known as Wonky Ninja. And Wonky Ninja may have been on the show.
He was.
Yeah, I think he was. So Wonk, it's funny how things come back full circle, eh, buddy? But the Demons, man, yeah, I remember checking it out, and I'm glad that that's getting on Kickstarter. I know you got questions for me, but let me open the door to this conversation.
Let's do it.
Is there a reason for Kickstarter and not Indiegogo, or vice versa with you? Do you? Because I know you've done politics and comic books. Do you think that the politics extend to the crowdfunding platforms?
I think a month ago I would have said no, but I do want to say I'm going to say yes. Because so right now you can say Indiegogo is kind of leaning more like right, and Kickstarter is leaning towards left, and people will disagree with me. But if you look at the president of Kickstarter, who is in charge of the comics book division, she puts out in like the trending, like the what we're reading section on Kickstarter for comics, it's very left wing comic books, which is fine. I've backed a couple of them, but you can tell that the books that are on Indiegogo, they just wouldn't fit right in Kickstarter, I guess, right now. And so I chose Kickstarter just because this is my first crowdfunded project ever. I've never done a crowdfund. I've seen a lot of people do Kickstarter, and one thing I do like about Kickstarter is the all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
In Indiegogo, you could only raise $50 out of your 1,000 goal and still be like, okay, I'm going to produce the book. And there's something about saying, no, like this has to be funded. Otherwise we're not doing it. It gives people a sense of urgency. Like, oh, I need to support this book to help make it get made.
Well, on top of that, if I ran an Indiegogo and I didn't do the all or nothing option, because it is an option in there now, but let's say I made, the $50 out of my 1,000. Well, $50 isn't enough to make, anything. So who's to say I'm not going to pocket the $50 and go, oh, you know what? No book. You know what I mean? So whoever actually did believe in your project kind of gets left empty-handed and minus $50 later.
Yeah. But with Indiegogo, you're not allowed to do another Indiegogo project until you've given your backers their
until you've done your fulfillment. Right.
Exactly. So like that could screw you over. That could screw you over.
Well, sure. I mean, anyone can burn the bridge once, and it's good that they have a policy in place like that. Like, if you try it again, you burn our bridge, we're not going to let you come back. That is something I actually didn't know. I just learned something there. But Tyler, this is your show, honestly. So I'm going to flip the switch to you, and by all means, man, anything you want to ask me, ask me. And guys in the chat, if you want to ask me something, ask. And if you want to ask Tyler something, ask. We're both here for you.
Yeah, man. Well, one thing that I've noticed, so I remember when I first came onto like the indie comic book scene, I remember seeing your book. I remember I was like, wow, this is a guy who knows how to make comics. I think you had just finished your second Nyobi Kickstarter, and it was funded, and I was like, wow. And then I did that pinup for you, and I'd never drawn a woman before, and I spent like a day trying to model myself as a woman to get that pinup right. And I just remember being like, Larry knows what he's doing. But and that was 3 years ago. And so I've seen I've seen you sometimes get flack for the work. I mean, so I'd love to ask, like, how do you deal with people when they're saying, you know, Nyobi is like way too sexual? Like, what do you like say? What do you say to that?
Besides giving out the middle finger, uh, and I'm joking. You know, my philosophy is this: everyone to each their own, right? There's a huge market for sexy covers. There's always has been in comics from the time I remember start collecting them. Anyway, you know, I've been big fans of things like Witchblade and Lady Death and Darkchild, you know, and Evangeline, and you know, a lot of stuff that Top Cow was doing, a lot of stuff Michael Turner was doing, you know, with Aspen and things of that nature. I always been a big fan of Heavy Metal Magazine and the pinup art you would find in there, or fantasy art. So I never saw anything wrong with it to begin with, and I still don't. My advice is, you know, if you don't like it, and you know, and this goes down the board with anything. You know, if you don't like it, don't watch it. If you don't like it, don't buy it. It's that simple, you know. But don't put my neck in a noose for it. Just let me do my thing, and if it's not your thing, that's cool. There's lots of things in comic books that aren't my thing, and I leave them be, and I concentrate on my stuff. But I do, you know, the attacks haven't been so bad lately. They were really bad during Nyobi #2. You know, I had a cosplayer walk out on me because, you know, she found feminism, and then accused me of being misogynist and a sexist. I said, look, if this isn't your thing anymore, feel free to walk. And she took me up on my offer, and she walked.
And that's what you can do these days, though. Like, I don't know why. I feel like people are like, if I don't like it, no one should be able to see this. And it's like, no, we live in a great time of the world where if you don't like something, you can find something else that you like, and there will be other people who like what you don't like. Just leave them be.
Yeah, you know, and you know, I'm not like a big name, so I don't get attacked like constantly. You know what I mean? You know, it's not like I'm Frank Cho or Milo Banera and I drew that Spider Woman cover that caused all that controversy. You know, I'm not those guys. In fact, I don't draw any of the covers. I give direction to RB White or whoever's doing the cover, and they try and put together what I visualize. But you know, that's what these guys do. You know, they draw sexy. But if anyone ever opened up a Nyobi comic, they would see that there's, you know, yeah, she's a good looking girl, but there's story and substance in there. I remember, I'll tell you a story. I was at the Calgary Fan Expo, and this kind of snotty woman will walk by, and you can just tell she was just there to sneer at everything. And she walks by the table, and she looks down, and she sees the sexy covers, and she kind of gives me that look, and she looks at me, and she looks at the covers, and she goes, everything's just a friggin' porno around here. And I looked at her, and I go, you know, she's seen all these hot girls and cosplay and all this other stuff, right? So I go, well, have you ever read an issue of Nyobi? Okay, you know, I'm going to challenge her, right? What do you actually know about this? You know, she looks down again at the comic. She looks at me. She looks at the comic, and she goes, no, and I don't need to either. And she walks off. You know, there's the old saying about, yes, you can judge a book by its cover, right? But you really shouldn't. You know, we make covers because we want, you know, because they're nice covers to catch the eye. There's a certain demographic that's really into that, you know. And but if they open the book, hopefully they'll see that there's character and story and plot being developed, and it isn't like just a girl running around with tits. You know what I mean? Like
it's well, I've read issues 1 and 2 of Nyobi, and yeah, they've got sexy covers, but that's not like who Nyobi is. Like, she's someone who's helping people. Like, she's got a really good story arc that you've created, and yeah, people are judging the book by its cover, but open the inside the book, and it's a book full of substance. And I think people need to like stop, you know, judging the book by the cover. But the cover helps it. I mean,
sure. I mean, let's look at issue 1. For those that haven't read issue 1, issue 1's about a teen who is a big fan of Nyobi because Nyobi's kind of like a rock star, and he gets bullied for it. Okay, because the other teens, you know, they kind of make fun. It's like, you know, being like a headbanger in school and you like Britney Spears. Okay. It's kind of like those same lines. And so he gets made fun of it to the point where this evil spirit's picking up on his negative energy and it's influencing him, and he's almost going to commit suicide. In fact, he even makes the attempt and is saved by Nyobi. Tell me where the sex is in that.
Yeah, there's none. I think the most was it issue 2. She's on a beach.
Issue 3, yeah.
Yeah, that's issue 3. Okay, I just saw the preview art, but like, who doesn't go on a beach? There's nothing sexual about a beach. It's a beach.
She was there for a photo shoot, and what we did was we did some like a fan art sort of contest, right? Draw some fan art. with your best Nyobi, in a sexy bathing suit, and we'll take those and we'll put them in the book. And the way we did it was she was doing a photo shoot, and to simulate the photo shoot, we put those pages in the middle, right? So here's her doing all these poses, and then once that was done, then we went right back into the story once the photo shoot was over. So when it says swimsuit issue, I think people get this wrong idea of like, you remember back in the 90s, Marvel would do these swimsuit issues and stuff like that, and it'd be just like pinups all the way through the book, right? We had that, we had pinups, but we also had like pretty much like an 18-page story in there too. So
I think ultimately though, one thing that I just do like, and I issue this creed to like all people who are wanting to make comics, is just make the comics that you're interested in reading. I mean, that's one thing I do. I like that you've stuck around creating Nyobi, because she's the kind of character and comic book that you personally want to read. And one thing that I kind of don't like about the indie comic scene is a lot of people are like, I've got to create a comic book that other people are going to want to read. And it's like, no, like make a comic book that you want to read, and the quality will show if you're personally invested in it.
Well, look, I'll tell you this. Passion is infectious, right? If I'm watching a creator, say you or say Kevin, who I talked to the other day, and they're just passionate about what they do. Like that man was passionate about Galaxial, right? An hour and a half, me and him last night talked about Kraken Print and his book. And when someone is so excited about what they're doing, that catches on, and you can read that vibe when someone really is believing. So if someone is making something that they think that they just want other people to read, and they're not so much into it themselves, they're just kind of, going through the motions, that's easy to pick up on. But when someone is like, yo, God, man, I can't wait to get this story out, and the art is so awesome, and they're just that high energy level, you can pick up on that right away. And I think people pick up on that with Nyobi, and that's why it's been able to last, these like 3-4 years. And that's why it's still continuing to grow. We have Paul Green, big time artist, man. Does a lot of work for Zenoscope, a lot of exclusive covers, that sort of stuff. Very much like a J. Scott Campbell sort of style. He's done the variant cover for issue 5. Ula Moss, great artist in all right. Also well-known colorist, does a lot of work again for like Zenoscope and, Coffin Comics and stuff like that. Is doing the colors for that cover, man. It's going to be dynamite. So, we're growing, and we also have a spin-off comic now. We have Avani, the villain from issue 2, is getting her own little one shot, and if that does well, we might continue with it. And then I have like this other book I've been dreaming of that I'm just trying to put the right team together for, called Angel Elite, and it's all gonna be in a shared universe. I'm making my own like Marvel universe, if you will, man. And I'm pumped, man. I never thought I would get beyond issue 1. Now I'm working on issue 5 and Avani Origins #1, and drafting up this Angel Elite project. Plus, the convention appearances locally. Also ran a con. Plus the YouTube stuff and everything else that kind of happens on the side, dude. It's a fun time in comics right now.
No, it's true. So like, I see a question that the Wonk has put. Where do you start when you think about comics as a writer or artist? And I actually kind of want to twist that question. Since you brought up that you're creating.
Well, that question's for you.
Oh, well, I'll answer it. I also want to get your take. I guess I'll answer it, then I'll ask you. I have a specific question on that for you. I was thinking about. But where do I start when I think about comics as a writer or artist? I think for me, it's always about an idea. I always start with the idea of kind of like a message that I want to convey, or like a theme. So right now, I forgot to plug this as well, but I'm working on a webcomic called The Hardline, and like a page and a half or 2 comes out every single Friday on Webtoons. It's a crime comic. And that's kind of like the comic that I'm writing and drawing. That's currently my baby right now. And when I think about that story, I think of the theme that I want. And the theme is really about family, betrayal, and kind of it's called The Hardline because it's, where does each character's moral standing lie? So I start with that, and after that I build the characters, and then I think about the ending. I kind of think where what I want the characters to have gone through and like come out with, and then after that I create all the problems, and then I create the beginning. I kind of work backwards, and then when I do since I'm doing the art with that, I I practice with the style I want to do first. So I called for writers on YouTube actually to comment below on the video that I posted, a 2-sentence pitch story, and I would pick 3 writers from there, and I would draw their 2-page pitches. And that's how I figured out the style for that particular comic book. And their stories were part of that world. So I used those stories to hone my art style for that book. So that now that's the style I'm doing. And if I do a superhero book, I'll do the same thing. I'll put out a call for writers and say, hey, 2-page pitch story. I'll pick 3 of you. I'll practice my style, and that'll be the style for that particular book. So that's how I think about it, comics as an artist. But one thing I've been thinking about though is creating a universe. That Hardline, I built it as it could be a universe of it's all about this one city, Edge City. And I like how you said that you started with Nyobi. You're starting to build her universe. And one thing that I like is that you have first established Nyobi as her own character, and you've established Avani as her own character. And that you're going to do a one shot, and you're going to slowly build it up into a bigger universe. What do you think indie comic writers fail at when they try to create their own universe? What do you think that they struggle with when they try to create their own comic universe?
Much too soon. And this is just me generalizing, okay? Like, this isn't every indie creator or whatever, but I think people put the dream before the reality, right? I see a lot of people that dream big but little follow through. I see people that have all these cool ideas and things that they want to do, but they need to get to step 1 before they get to step 10. And a lot of people are trying to get to step 10 and skip, steps 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. I always knew I was going to do an expanded universe sort of thing with Nyobi, a sense of I'm a role player. I've made these characters since I was 16 years old. Rob Liefeld, I remember him saying, I got 100 of these in my head. Talking about Deadpool and Cable and Domino and all these characters he's created. I'm the same way. I got about 100 of these in my head, if not more. They just need the right time to come out. The biggest holdback to me is money.
If every comic creator's hold up, right?
Right. No, but if I had the money, I have no problem writing those stories. But it's the money to have someone draw them, because I'm not an artist, so I can't draw my own stories. And ladies and gentlemen, art is not cheap by any means. If you're going to have someone like a Tyler Carpenter here or someone else draw your story, they need to be compensated for their time and effort. And so money is the biggest holdback I find for myself personally, trying to get this out there. But I'm glad it's kind of a holdback in the sense that it does give me time to kind of get Nyobi established. Now we're going to establish Avani, and we're going to weave this web. It just my regret is that it's taking too long. But if I have more money, then I could have 2 artists instead of 1 artist. Because right now Steve Boyu is handling the chores of doing Avani right now. And if we don't find someone for the next Nyobi book, he's going to have to handle that too. You know what I mean? Plus he's doing a full-time job. Plus he's looking after a handicapped sister. Plus anything else that life throws at him. A lot of people don't understand that what we do here on this is things that we do on the side. And because you do it on the side, it takes much, much more longer to complete. Even guys that are working for Action Lab, or something like that, a comic book company that's on the shelves in your shop, but maybe a little smaller. A lot of these guys, man, have day jobs. Just because they're published doesn't mean they're rich, doesn't mean they're rocking it, and it doesn't mean it's their full-time job. For some of them it is, but for a lot of them it isn't, especially on the writer side of things, because the artists are a lot more in demand than writers are. The writers are a dime a dozen, but to find a good artist, that's a gem,
No, it's true. One thing that I like what you said was about indie creators is they kind of want to jump the gun. I just did a video last week. It's called the 3 things you can learn, indie writers can learn from the MCU. Indie writers, they want to jump the gun and go straight to Infinity War.
Right.
And DC did the same thing with their Justice League movie. They went straight to their Justice League movie, and they should have spent like years with like putting out more solo content of their characters. And a lot of, because Infinity War, you watch that movie and you're like, oh, this is a great movie, I want to write a story like this. And people forget that, this story is only good because there was 10 years of other stories prior to it.
And how long did it take to get there? What, 8 to 10 years? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that all started from this little movie called Iron Man 1, which no one gave any time or credit to, thought it was going to fail. But hey, why not give it a try? It was essentially a B-list character for Marvel because they had sold off all the rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four to Fox and Sony, Spider-Man included. And they had very little left to make their own movies with. But you know what? They took a character like Iron Man and they built an entire franchise around it. It was incredible what they did.
And I think indie creators can do the same thing. Like, focus on your one character, develop that character, create stories around that character, grow a fan base around that character, and tell a good story so that you can then build that universe that you want. But it's not gonna come overnight, and you're not gonna throw out Infinity War as your first book. It's not gonna do well. And I don't know, something like that. I think, and I like what you brought up as well with being on the indie scene. This stuff costs money. Like, the biggest thing that hurts me as an indie creator is time and money. I don't have if I have a story I want to write and draw, that's a huge chunk of my time. But then I also want to make money, so I draw for other people's books, which means I can't draw my own book.
Right.
And if I want to pay another artist, I have to pay them with my money. And it's time and money. It's how do you manage that? Like you said, I have tons of characters and I have tons of worlds I want to build. I just don't have the money to pay. If I could, I'd pay 10 different artists working on, 10 different books. And then once a year and then every 2 years, I'd pay that one artist to bring all the characters into one big year-long book.
Yeah. The money is the biggest Achilles heel. It takes about anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 from conception to finished product to put one of these things together. That includes, your penciling, your lettering, if you're doing colors, if you're having different sorts of variant covers, you have to pay those various artists to do those variants for you. If you any sort of promotional material, prints and stuff like that. And that's not including what it costs to ship it or print it.
Everything costs money in this indie scene. And a lot of people, when they come in, they think it's going to be all happy. My biggest pet peeve is when I see a Kickstarter and it's just someone's like, hey, I have this idea, pay me $5,000 and I'm going to make it. Yeah. And it's you got to put in a little more work than that. I mean, people think, oh, Tyler, you're just now putting out your first Kickstarter. And it's no, I just spent the last 3 years funding 15 issues of Demons out of my own pocket so that I can now put it on Kickstarter.
Right. And, Kickstarter is never a guarantee. But I'll tell you this, though. Right now, whether it's Kickstarter or Indiegogo, whatever which way you want to go to get your comics, I would suggest people look at both and find what you like. But right now, crowdfunding in general is on fire. It's on fire right now. Books that I would see normally make $4,000 or $5,000 on Kickstarter are now doing $25,000 to $30,000. Okay, these books on Indiegogo that we can't deny it. We have to kind of mention it at least a little bit.
We have to.
Cyberfrog and Jawbreakers and those titles that are coming out from those guys.
$500,000.
How can you not ignore that? I mean, that has to be noted, So right now, crowdfunding's on fire. I think, there's a stronger fan base that goes to Indiegogo just because there's that movement. But you see it in Kickstarter right now as well. I mean, the highest one on Kickstarter right now has got to be Brian Pulido's Lady Death, right? And so he's done what, almost $300,000 on his Kickstarter, and he was the king. You know what I mean? and still is the king. Of comic books on Kickstarter. When Coffin Comics puts out stuff, whether it's La Murda or Lady Death or the other title I know he's got coming out, they kill it, man. They kill. He works with people like Stanley Archer and Lau. You know, he works with Colette Turner. He works with Paul Green. This guy, man, that's why I'm saying that if you don't like what's on the shelf, go Indiegogo, go Kickstarter, find something you like, man. Because not only are you probably going to get a really cool product by some of the top tier people in this industry, because a lot of people are there now. You're helping someone fund their dream and make that a reality, and that alone, is a pretty cool thing to do.
And like you can grow a following on Kickstarter if you put the work in. I remember when Badassical #1 came out. Not a lot of people were really there as much as probably the creator would have wanted to. Now he's putting out Badassical #4, and that comic is super funded.
Right, and that's one of the examples I'm actually talking about. And for those that don't know, I actually have Badassical right here in my hand because it happened to be right beside me. Funny that Tyler mentioned that particular comic. I actually have a pile of indie comics right by my feet in a box that I've gotten from Kickstarters or bought directly off of people at conventions by going up to their table and getting their book. But this book here is written by John Fleming, beautiful art by Colette Turner. And yeah, they're rocking it on Kickstarter. They're about 30 grand and they live here in my city, So if people from small town, nowhere Canada can do this, sky's the limit, man.
And just also, just build your audience. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Russell Noherty's book. He always has to get over 100,000. He always gets around 300,000 for his books.
Crazy.
And it's crazy. And it's because people think, oh, he just got lucky. It's no, you gotta put in the work. It's a lot of work. I didn't know it was this much work. I'm doing my first Kickstarter right now, and I'm like, holy crap! There's so much to do before it launches. It's going to be so much to do while it launches, and the goal is super small. It's only $1,000, and I'm just fingers crossing I make it.
Yeah. And when I did my first Kickstarter, I had no idea what I was getting into, man. And had I known, right, I may not have done it. I didn't know how much money it was going to take. I didn't know, how harsh the shipping was going to be. I had no idea how hard it was going to be for me to find a local printer, and then, for them to screw up my comic book 10 times before we got it right, So now I'm looking at Kraken Print to do a Vani, and I think they're worth plugging because these are creators just like us who know the ins and outs of making these books, and I think they'll do a fantastic job with it. So
I'm looking towards them as well. They gave me I talked to Kevin, and I was like, hey, what's I checked out Kablam. I've done Kablam before. Checked out comics, did Comics Wellspring, and he gave me the quote, and I was like, holy crap, that's great.
No, if these things come to pass, that'd be excellent. So I told Kevin, I said, listen, I'm going to get my quote from you, and I did. I'm going to make some adjustments to what I need. And once I get the final quote, if it's cheaper than what I get right now, and that's got to be after shipping, if it's still cheaper than what I'm getting right now, then I'm going to run with them. But I'm also going to evaluate the entire process, and I'm going to evaluate it live. Meaning, if they screw up, I'm going to come on here and say they screwed up. But if they do me well, I'm going to come on here and praise them too. I told them, you're under the microscope with me. I want to see if this is exactly what it's cut out to be. Because if I'm putting my name on this, and if I'm going to praise you guys, don't make me look bad.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I've done Kablam. I think their quality is great. I find them very slow and unresponsive. I did Comics Wellspring for another a one-shot comic book. They were great. They did it in 2 weeks. I like their pricing. But now, Kraken Print, if their deal is as good as they say, I want to see the quality of that book, and I'll do the same thing with you. I'll get on YouTube and I'll rip my book in front of them and be like, you guys screwed me over.
I don't think they will though. I mean, when you see the names that are involved with that, Bob, Sally, and Kevin and stuff, I got very high hopes for them. In the chat, we have Brian Spaceboy227 here. He says, what's up? We have Vincenzo C in the house. He says, evening, gentlemen. And we have Miss Hustlers. And she says, everyone's got to start somewhere. And now with the internet, anything is possible. You can meet anybody along the way. I mean, imagine, if we didn't have the internet, Tyler, we'd be having to go to New York and work in a little office, the bullpen and, do our things. But now, let's say, I want to work with you. It's a simple matter of a Facebook message and maybe a video conversation, and we got something rocking.
And we probably without the internet, let's be real, we probably wouldn't even met.
No.
Like where there's no way. Kind of bringing this though, I have to go soon, so I'd like to ask you one last question, and it kind of goes with what Miss Hustle said.
Sure.
With the internet and you're able to grow an audience with the internet, have you ever thought about doing a webcomic?
It was suggested to me that Nyobi started as a webcomic by Marvel artist Nick Bradshaw, who lives here in the city. He says you should do a webcomic, and that's how you should get your name out there. And I really didn't want to do a webcomic. I wanted something that I could have and hold in my hand, something that I could bring to conventions, and something I can sell at shops. In retrospect, maybe a webcomic might have been the way to go, but Nyobi would not have been the title for that. You know what I mean? I would have come up with a different idea, something that I could do like a daily strip on. And if I could draw it myself, then even better. But, to pay someone to do a webcomic and not make any money from it was kind of deterrent from that idea,
So one thing for me, so I kind of felt the same way, but I decided for my crime comic, The Hardline, I'd do it as a webcomic. Then once issue 1 was done, I printed it and I sell it at cons. And then because of it, I've garnered almost 500 weekly subscribers on Webtoons, and they'll comment, they'll read the story, and I'm going for the long game. I'm really hoping, because I've never done a webcomic except for this. I'm really hoping that once the story is done, they'll all come for that big Kickstarter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one possible idea that I could do is I can put up Nyobi #1 as a webcomic, just release a couple of pages at a time, get people interested in the story, because it's been out now for a few years, right? The people that bought it pretty much bought it, at least locally. And people on Kickstarter always offer the old issues up on Kickstarter. So anyone that has it, that wants it's pretty much had it. So I don't think I would ruin anything if I put it up as a webcomic now, because it's already established. And then that might draw people into wanting, 2, 3, 4, and now 5 when it comes out.
Yeah.
But, webcomics very interesting, because I want to make money from it. I mean, if I'm putting my money in, I want to at least get my money back or break even. And I'll tell you something. Nyobi 4 Kickstarter was the only time I broke even. All the other 3, I lost money, right? Nyobi #4, I felt like, okay, this is actually paid for itself in full. That's very cool. I'm happy. And if I can get that, I'm fine. If I get a $10,000 Kickstarter, dude, I'm going to fucking happy dance all over the place. I don't expect that. But even though that's kind of the landscape where things are right now, when you look at Colette's book and stuff, and I don't compare Nyobi to them because they're so much better than I am. But those things are possible right now. They're very possible, and it depends on the work you put in. And hopefully over the 4 years that I've been doing this, at least I hope I've built up at least somewhat of a rep and a fan base to hopefully, get that out there. My only problem is I don't know if I'm doing an Indiegogo. I don't know if I'm doing Kickstarter. I don't know if I'm doing both. I don't know. I want to go, honestly, where I think my fan base would be, and honestly, where I'm going to make the most money from it.
No, it's true, and that's why I was thinking. A lot of people, they say, you got to make comics for the passion, and it's true. But when I was setting up this Kickstarter, I've always had in mind, I already made the comic. The passion's already in there. At this point, it's been out. Demons 1 has been out for almost 3 years. I now at this point want to see if I can make some money off of it. I put out the first 2 issues on Webtoons for free, and I got 200 subscribers, and hopefully then they'll come to the Kickstarter. We'll see. It's just one of those. Yeah. Where's the fan base? Where's the money to be made?
Well, this is one piece of advice I would give to a would-be creator. Know what your demographic is, right? And I still don't know what Nyobi's demographic is. Sometimes I think it's guys who like sexy covers, but you know what? A lot of times I'm selling this book to women and transgender people, and it's weird, the people that want this book. So I'm still trying to figure out who my target audience is.
No, that's big. That's true. That's something to think about. Well, hey man, thanks so much for this. Me, you on my show. Me having you on, you having me on. Thanks for having us do this.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Technically, boys and girls, this is Tyler's show. He'll be uploading this to his channel on Friday, but I thought, why not go live with it? And maybe we get some interaction out of it. And, I can benefit from it a little bit too by having this up on my channel. I look very forward to seeing your edited version and what you do with it. But Tyler, 30 minutes isn't enough for me, brother. I got to tell you that you are welcome to come back here, and I would like to continue conversation when you have the free time.
No, for sure. You've actually opened my eyes on something. I've only gone live once, but I'm kind of seeing the benefit of here. This is cool that there's like this chat. It's cool that there's people watching. Yep. I'm going to have to like start considering doing this.
So after you go live, what happens is this will automatically upload to YouTube anyway, right?
Yeah. And
then when it does, you can actually take that file from YouTube, download it, do your edits, and re-upload it if you want, or just leave it.
That's what I'm doing right now. It's technically live on Facebook, but no one can actually watch it. I'll then in Creator Studio download it, and then I'll put like my intro music on it and like the title screen, and that's all the edits I really do on it, and then I'll re-upload it. But I'm kind of liking this whole live thing. That's cool.
Live is so much fun. I mean, anything can happen, but honestly, with OBS, I can do intro music. I can put in graphics on the fly, and I can do it live. Like, you know what I mean? You just have to be very careful with it that you don't mess up, because you're multitasking when you do it like this. Like, when like I can switch the screen to like my camera to your camera, back and forth. I can put up my little icon. I can put up the sub screen. I can do a variety of things. But you have to be very careful if you want to make it look sleek and professional, right?
No, yeah, it's true. It's true. Whenever I watch your stuff, I'm like, how is he like managing all that stuff? So yeah, I'm gonna have to think about it. But hey, everyone, keep subscribing to Larry's channel. I want you guys to back Nyobi when it comes out, or just buy the book off of him because it's freaking awesome. He was one of the first creators I talked to who gave me a chance. So if you're new, sub to him.
And listen, I got Tyler's link in the chatter box. It's also in the description. Go over to his channel, give him a sub, and consider, backing Demons on Kickstarter. Because I'll tell you something, when it goes live, Tyler's going to send me the link. It's going to be all over my Facebook, and I guarantee you, I'll come live and we'll have a look at his book. I mean, I've already read the first issue, so is Wonky, so we can tell you it's good.
Hey man, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, by the way, Gene Paul Ace Peters in the house. He says he subbed to you. He just subbed up, so there you go.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
We'll let Tyler go. Peace out, Tyler. Thanks for everything.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Larry's an awesome guy. I want you to check out his channel. The link is down below. Like I said in that stream, he was one of the very first creators that gave me a chance to draw something, to get that on a published book. He also had me on his YouTube show, the original one, before he deleted it. So he's a super awesome guy. I'm going to chat with him more, and hey, maybe I'll do some more live videos. I don't know. So it was a great conversation. I love the guy. He's freaking awesome. He's always supported me. I continue to support him, and yeah, everything's great. So thanks guys for watching, and episode 50 is changing everything. So thanks guys for watching. Thanks for listening to another episode of Draw and Talk. Hit the subscribe button, like and comment, and once again, thanks for supporting me. You guys rock.